In this video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be addressing how to establish a link to a file using iTunes. iTunes may be looking different on a Mac than it is on a PC doing this particular process, but I want to be able to introduce you to the basics of how to use iTunes to load an individual application into FileMaker Go. The way we're going to do that is when you open up your Mac and you go to your iPad, on your iPad you'll see, or Windows, you will see a summary screen. When you click on summary, it's going to find the hard drive or iPad that you're using. In this particular case, I've selected let's go over here. I've selected the iPad mini, and I have also an iPad Air that I can work with. If I switched over to the iPad Air, then I would see a different screen and different information on here. What I'm going to do is I highlight this. It shows the iPad mini, and it also shows it up here. If you have one activated or more, you'll see a bridge across here with the different devices that you have attached to your computer. Now, obviously, this is done on the computer because I'm on the desktop. You can do this with a device attached. Now, what I mean by that is you have to have the iPhone, iPad, or whatever you're working with as far as a device, as far as the iPad or a phone. And what you do is when you attach the cord from the iPad or iPhone to the application drop-down list up here, you'll see it up here as available. The next step is that we need to address the first thing, which is to be able to do a local app load. And what I'm going to explain what that is. You do this in iTunes by going over and tapping on the apps screen here. And if you're looking at the applications that are available, this is the standard way they're shown on a Mac, and PC would be just slightly different. What we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, and you'll see that I've got this already highlighted where I have FM Go right here highlighted. These are older versions of FM Go. This is not the very latest, but it's the FileMaker Go 14. 15 is also out, but right now we're not using 15. What we want to do, first of all, we can identify what FileMaker Go documents are actually already included for a local installation. Now, the thing we're doing right now is called a local installation, which I'll cover in the next video using the iPad to show you that. But this is where if you have one iPad and you want to load that particular application in FM Go, which is here, you would do that. You'd highlight it. First of all, you have to download the free copy of FM Go and put it on your Mac as far as putting it on the iPad. Now, the way you do that is you download it just like you would any other app through iTunes, and you would put it into your system as far as on your iPad. So you would have to have your iPad do the download from the iTunes store, the application store, and it'll show up here in the list once it's downloaded. Now, in this case, I have a number of apps that are already installed on my iPad mini, and these are used for testing and evaluation, so I have several of them in here. But what we want to do now is we want to add an additional application for another client that I have. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the bottom of the screen by scrolling over here in the corner until we see the add. Down here at the bottom, we have to have the FM Go highlighted and the add. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to the desktop. And in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and spread this out. You can see all the applications that are out there. And what I'm going to do is a local app, and I'm going to be looking for Equipment Service Management Pro, and I'm going to be looking for the actual application. Now, this particular thing shows a lot of different stuff in here, but I'm going to go down and I'm going to show you the actual application, which is a file that looks like this. It'll say Equipment Service Management Pro DB, and it's got the .fmp on it. So if I highlight that and then say add it, and then I scroll back up, almost as fast as I can scroll back up, it should be added, and there it is right there. It's as simple as that to add it to your iPad. In this case, it's 12.5 megabytes. And what this does is it gives you access to this. We're going to show you that in the next video so that you can see this is at the local level of the FM Go application on your iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, and the next time we get on the next video portion of this presentation, we'll be looking at the actual iPad and how we're going to add it to the iPad or add it from here open it on the iPad to show it in FMGO. So we're done here, so we can go ahead and quit for the time being, then we'll come back and then we'll do the next portion, which is going to be how to set it up on the server. I'm using an application called AirServer. And what AirServer does, it allows to put the actual iPad image up on the screen. Now obviously I have to use the touch portion of the application on the FMGO in order to actually address what I'm going to be working on. So I'm going to show you to start with. When you come to the iPad, you can look at recents, devices, or hosts. Now in hosts, what we would be doing is if we're going to host this on the multi-user web under WebDirect, which is an application that works on FileMaker Server, it'll allow us to access that database on the net through either a web browser, or we can set it up in FMGO, which we're in right now, to access a client to the web server, and we'll be able to run that multi-user, meaning we can have 1 to the number of accounts, and in this particular case we could have, say, 1 to 5 accounts, just for the purpose of saying that we'd have 5 users. Now when I put the local application on right here, you just saw me do that in the last video, that gave you the option to see it here. And what you would do here is I would tap on it on the iPad, and when I tap on it, it'll bring up something that says opening files, and we have to wait for it to open. And immediately what happens is it brings up the application for local usage. And what that means basically is that the application is available to the user on a single user version so that we can access the application. So if I go up here, I'll point with my cursor, but I actually have to tap on the iPad. And what I do is I use the drop down, and that'll bring up the application main menu with all the different things that I can do on different screens within this application. Now if I want to get off of that particular button, I can go ahead and tap it again, and it hides the drop down menu. Now in order to learn this application, if I came over here and I tapped on the video help, that's going to bring up a screen on the internet through YouTube that's going to allow me to go ahead and bring down the YouTube videos. And as you'll see, they're here, and this is how you learn this application. Most of the applications I produced this year will have this interface and the options to go on the application on a single user or multi-user. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to say done, and it's going to take me back to the main application where we'd use that here to do whatever we need to do on the application. So you would take the videos to learn the application and then start using it from this interface. Now there's a lot of things on this screen that are really quite nice as far as the way the application works. I've hidden all but the menus and options and everything that work within the application for general usage, and I did not include anything like the FileMaker web or FileMaker Go for a single version. All the buttons that you would need and function in this application are included in here. For example, if I go to the main screen, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, I'll bring it up and it highlights here, and I'm going to go into what's called the customer information screen. I missed that, so let's go ahead and do that again. And all you have to do is just bring it up and tap on that particular customer information screen. And as you enter the customer information screen, you'll notice that there are different buttons and drop downs and things that allow you to use the application. And there's also a thing called the Do Action menu at the top. And this is the primary thing that you would use, that would be the screen buttons at the top of the screen where they normally be. And I've included them in a drop down screen menu here. Okay, one of the things I wanted to show you is that if you want to do anything as far as support and get help, you would use this icon over here, which is located here, in order to get support help from the main support site. And you just tap on it and it'll bring up the support site. So it's that simple. Okay, we can also open this in Safari if you want to use Safari, but currently it's opening in the browser that is included within the application, so you do not have to leave the application in order to use it to go for help. When you're into the application, and you're looking at the application screen, you can go ahead and translate the information if it's in your own language to another language, and then you can turn off or detect the language. By detecting the language, it'll automatically shift it to your local language. If you need assistance, you can use this live help. Is online, tap that and then log in. If you need additional help as far as sending an email to me, you can do that, and that would be very helpful, because having the help in there with an email address from you helps me to get back to you from our local area here. To get out of this screen, tap the Done that's down here in the corner, and then you're back on the main screen. This is actually part of the interface when you're using Air Server, so this is not actually going to stay on the screen. Typically, if you tap off of that, it should hide that and you don't have it on your screen. That's part of the actual thing. If I'm moving my cursor around on the screen, it brings it back up. So I'm just going to tap it to make it go away. Okay, if you have any questions, contact us through the website and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you. In the next video we're working on, we're going to actually add the application to a server, and then from the server we'll be able to use it in the FM Pro client in FM Go. So what we were showing you just a short time ago with the FM Go, we're going to add that actually the application in there. What you should do is you should have this application installed on the server by the developer, and at that point you're only setting up your iPads or a link on the browser in order to access this application. Now, in this particular version, I've changed applications because I actually have a use for this, and it's the Equipment Service Management Pro DB device, iDevice. In that way, an iDevice is either the iPhone or the iPad, and this file is set up just slightly different because it has a log out for the browser. What that basically means is that if it's used up on the server, you need a log out button to exit the browser and give you back the screen for the application on the browser itself. And it'll move back to the login screen on the browser and close this particular screen. So let's go ahead and go over to the iTunes, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and once again I'm using Air Server to demonstrate how to use the application. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move off the screen so that you won't have that artifact in the screen. What we're going to want to do first of all is the process before we get running is that the server needs to have a copy of the application that you're going to be using that was supported by the developer. And when I mean supported by the developer will install it on the server for you. There is a provider that has the server management and the tools online, and part of the process is that you will be signing up for one of two things: either a demonstration account, which is a 15-day trial, and you can evaluate the application, or if you're going to be using it as a multi-user and you want it set up by the developer on the server, what you would do is you would go ahead and go to the provider main screen, and we're going to explain the provider main screen in the next video and how to use that. But in this screen, what we're going to basically do is show you how to, once the application is online on the provider's server, you're going to access the information in FileMaker Go and set up that particular server link that you're going to be using with the FileMaker Go in order to use the application that you install down to your iPads. Now you would have a choice. If this is a multi-user environment, you have to have usernames and passwords for each individual user, or you can assign those to a default drop-down list in the application where it allows you to select the individual login that you want, and you would go ahead and log in this process, but we'll be showing you login. You'll be using the individual login where it has a username and password to access the application. Now in some cases we do not have a default screen when it opens up where you would be able to change the logins, but some of the applications like the one we're going to be demonstrating does have that. Let's go ahead and open up FileMaker Go first of all. We'll tap on it and it comes up. In this case it says no files available as far as the host is concerned. what I've done is I have eliminated some of the applications that we're going to be working on as far as being on the server now. But what we're also doing here is we're going to show you how to load the application. But before I do that, I want to come over here and point out that there is a gear up here. And what the gear does in this screen, it allows you to do several different things like manage your keychain, get help, register FileMaker Go as far as your own individual copy, and then a welcome tour that walks you through the usage of the interface and everything that's working on this application. Now, I'll tap on the screen to dismiss this other part, and I'm going to come over here and point out that we have two things to do in this screen. First of all, we have to click on the host drum down here to access any of the hosts. When you come back to the screen after you have installed the application on the server through FMGO as a client, then you're going to have to use the host that is listed here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and tap the host. And what it does when it first comes up, it shows you that there is one current host in here that is already loaded. And this is called localhost. But basically the favorite host, if you have a local host, that's a little different setup. But with the favorite host, which is the ones that you're actually installing for your application, is the one you'll be using. Now in this case, I have a default one in here that has already been loaded and set up. And I just want to show you that this is the server that we're on, and there could be many different servers. Basically the N344 might be different, and the actual host name over here might be different depending on what provider we're assigning. In this case, we're using FMP hosts, and it's a website where the host company provides the attachment and browser information and the FMGO links back to the application that's on their server. So you have two ways to approach your application. We can provide you with a host which is used through the browser, and we'll give you a URL that's very similar to the thing here, but it's going to have a little bit more data in it in order to log it onto the browser. You would only use this portion of it, where the other one would have a string of other data in here in the URL, plus the www at the front, or the HTTP, which is a mandatory thing to have. The HTTP has to be in there. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're indicating that this is a host, and it's already been added, but if we want to add the new host, depending on which server that you're actually going to be using, we'd come up here and we tap on the plus sign. And when you tap on the plus sign, the developer will provide you with the information to be put into the host address. Like the other one I just showed you, you would go ahead and enter that just as he provides it to you. You do not need to add the optional host name in here. And basically at this point, what you would do is go ahead and say, save the host, and that would be a save up here as far as the data that you put in for that host. So you save it. When you save it, and I'm just going to say cancel. In this case, I'm going to tap on that. And what it'll do is it'll repeat coming back here, and then the host would be added to the list of favorite hosts, and then you would tap on it. When you tap on it, I'll show you what's going to happen. You tap on it, and what it does is it comes up and it gives you a login. It shows you what host you're logging into as far as the provider's server. You add your account name, your password, and then you want to say over here, come on, tap on this to make it green. And what it does is it saves this in the keychain on your Mac or PC. When you do that, what it does is it allows you to log in with a shorter login thing. For example, it may just provide you account name and password. In some cases, when you log in on the FMGO going to the server, what it's going to do, it's going to have a second login. You would repeat the account name and password to go on to the host on the server for the provider. It's really that simple. And then once you have the correct account name and password in there, you would come up and tap on login, and then it would log into that account. In this particular case, we're on the 344, and I'm going to go ahead and tap on the login. And you'll see what will happen. In this case, it might take, okay, what it's doing here is I may not have tapped on the right. Oh, I didn't log in. It's very simple. I should have logged in and I didn't. So I'm going to pause it a second, and I'm going to go ahead and log in, and then I'll be coming back to show you what it looks like when it opens. Okay, so let's pause. Now that I'm I have my username and password installed. I didn't in this case, I did not click on the save in the keychain because we're setting up. I can go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to simulate it. I'll say that I did it, and I'm not going to do this because I don't need this particular application on my testing to have that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go up and say log in at the top of the screen here. And what it's going to do, it's going to pop up and it's going to show me the name of the application that I'm actually be running on the server. In this case, this particular one is the one I'm looking for with that login. Then I'm going to go ahead and tap on the icon. And it's going to ask me, like I said, a second time to go ahead and log in. And what you would do is enter again your username and password. And then the next thing when you say login, it's going to open up and show you the application on this screen. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause again until I log in a second time. I'm logged in again. I'm assuming that you would think that I would have save the keychain. Saving the keychain may skip the second login attempt and just go right into the application in the future. For example, if I came over here and tapped on the icon over here, generally if you have it in the keychain, it will just open up directly because it already has the admin and password installed. And if you save the keychain, that's what it'll do, is it'll bypass having to log in. I always indicate that in some cases that it may not log in twice, but it may log in once. So you have to test it on your local server and the provider to make sure that that's what it's going to do for you. And then of course from there in, you would go ahead and then tap login and it would open up and then show you the actual application. And in this case, to log out of the application, because all the interface icons and everything are missing as far as the general FM go, I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you that what you would do is go ahead and log in, and when it opens up, it's going to load the screen for the application. And when it opens up, what you're going to do to get out of the application is you'll notice that in this case it's going to have a logout here. And in order to exit this and go back to the main screen, you're going to tap on the logout. And that's the primary thing we want to indicate that you need to do to exit the application once you're done working in it. So we're going to go ahead and tap on that. And what it does is it brings you back to this screen where you can pick either recent, which is the application we just used, or you can go back over to the host and log back in if you need to. And this concludes the how to use the application as far as logging in. And if you have any questions or need help, you can ask the provider. The next video we'll be showing you is a simulation of a login and setup as far as the screen for the developer accessed loading of the application on the provider's server. Thank you. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to be covering FileMaker WebDirect. And what WebDirect is, this is the actual browser version when you're logging into the application. And you can see up here, as I said in the last video, you have to use the HTTPS and then the browser information. And this extension with the FMI, web, and the pound sign is required. This is the part that would change most often. It'll be a different server, maybe for depending upon your location, where the server may be. Now in this screen, what you're going to basically do when you're using the browser, and I'm in Google Chrome, is to go ahead and just go ahead and do your same login that you used when you're on FMGo to access the application. And then it would log in and show it on the screen here. You will see almost the identical same thing that you do on the iPad. When you log in, you will be able to go ahead and use the logout that is provided up here in the corner. As far as logging out of the application, where it was on the application, it will show a logout button where you can go ahead and exit the browser and go back to this screen here. Now I'm going to go up and tap on this, which is the FMP hosting. And what you're doing is when you come into this host, and this is the URL above here that you're going to be using to go to the FMP hosting site. If you just put in the HTTP www.fmphost.com, it'll take you to the host screen. And this is the company that's providing FileMaker hosting for you. In this case, I'm on this screen. At this drop down for our services, you would go ahead and click on FileMaker Pro Cloud Hosting, and that will bring up this screen. Now, says start the free trial. Now, all these have free trials. The standard one that 99% of the people are going to be using is this one right here, where you get one FileMaker database, 1 gigabyte of storage, unlimited connections, WebDirect, and in this case, we're not using instant web publishing. And then there would be automatic backup that's done by the hosting company. Every night about midnight, they will be backing up all the servers so that you have a backup copy in case something happened on the host or on your application itself where you needed to go to a prior version. Say, for example, you did something that caused damage to the host application, which is very rare that happens, but you'd have a backup available to go back to on a prior day. And they usually keep a number of days in reverse that allows you to go back and pick the appropriate backup copy. Now, in this situation, what we're going to be doing is we're going to click on the Start Free Trial. And it's $19.95 a month currently is what they're charging. And I'm going to scroll up here because I want to show you what I need as far as a developer. You're going to need to fill in all the information on this screen. I'm going to need your company information, the email that you are going to put in here for loading as far as your account, and that would be the one normally that you would use for your account on here that they need to know. The next thing that I'm going to need is I'm going to need your password. As far as this could be not your one for your email or whatever. This would be whatever password you want to create for the account that is on the hosting company, so you can come back. And if you're using the hosting company and it's not a trial, you can go ahead and use the 15-day trial, and they'll come back and then they'll tell you when it's due. About 14 days. You can see it says 15-day trial. About 14 days they're going to come to you and ask you to give the credit card information or PayPal or whatever you're paying with in order to do the month-to-month service for hosting your application. So once again, I'm going to recap. I would need your company information, your email address, and the password. That is required for me to be able to go ahead and put the application on the server for you. That's not something you want to try to do. It's highly technical as far as doing that. But I'll get it up there, and then I'll provide you the actual server ID that you saw in FMGO that you would use for FMGO, and I'll also be providing the actual URL that will go to the server for your particular account that you're setting up. So if you have any questions, you need more assistance, go ahead and let me know that you need more help, and we'll go ahead and take care of whatever questions you may have. Thank you.